Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back with another review. And today we're taking a look at something I don't really think we've looked at before. We've done He-Man reviews, the Origins line, but I don't think we've ever looked at anything from the Masterverse. So we're changing that with the Masterverse He-Man from the New Adventures of He-Man. This is his Galactic Protector phase. For those of you who don't know, after the original cartoon ended in like 86, 87, while it was in syndication, Filmation dropped the license and it was picked up by DIC, DIC. And in the early 90s, they did a continuation of the show of sorts. Now, it was a different animation style, different looks to match the new figures, because also Mattel had put He-Man to bed for a few years. Basically, He-Man had really put the hurt on Skeletor. He hadn't been seen in a while. Um, Citizens of a planet called Primus, many light years away, travel to Eternia because they have heard of the legend of He-Man, and they need his help to fight the evil mutants. Well, Skeletor tricks them into thinking that he is the true hero and He-Man is the villain, whereas He-Man is, uh, telling them, well, no, you're wrong. So basically, both of them end up going to this planet. Now, before that happens, we have the big moment where Adam of Eternia reveals to his mother and father that he is He-Man because he will be leaving the planet to go help the people of Primus. And I believe a new power sword is constructed that will help uh, contain the power of Grayskull through this time. Now, of course, as I'm sure we can all figure out, um, Queen Marlena and King Randor kind of suspected all along that Adam was He-Man. So you had that moment. But this is how he basically looked. This was what He-Man was looking like uh, in those moments on Eternia, and then when he got to Primus. If I remember correctly, the figures all had an action gimmick. He had a sword slashing gimmick, and there was a lot more of a futuristic bend to it. The big thing is, as you can see right here, He-Man had a ponytail, which I kind of dig, and I really do like this look. The shield is removable. This is like an energy shield, which the figure came with instead of the classic shield. Now, what's interesting is on the packaging in the artwork, they show this clipping to the arm, but this just pegs in here to the gauntlet on this side. No gauntlet there. And then, of course, we have the new power sword, which I remember a different power sword. I remember seeing the role play toy. This was all closed in, and it was more, you had buttons and stuff. Because while the toys didn't sell proper, there's a little smudge there. While the toys didn't sell proper, the role play power sword, which, if I'm pretty, we did have a role play power sword for the old original He-Man line, but it really didn't look like a sword how it did in the cartoon. The role play sword was much more accurate and actually was a big seller for that holiday season. But so there's that. And again, I do have to compliment Mattel, and I do this often. That's solid plastic, not the soft rubbery stuff that, say, something like Hasbro would put out. So they really do like it. And, who knows? They're putting all this effort into a line that might be ending soon. Dun, dun, dun. But other than that, there's a great deal of articulation on these figures. The Masterverse line is basically what I would say, is the equivalent to Marvel Legends of the He-Man one. You have a ball joint here on the head. There is a great range of movement. The ponytail is short enough. I don't really think it limits it. Although, if you can tell, the neck is angled a little forward, so you have to make sure to tilt the head up, and it is a little too loose for my taste. You have a universal joint here in the arm at the shoulder, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows that give you about 90 degrees because He-Man bought the tickets to the gun show. You have wrist articulation, and I'm loving this. they did give him the up and down wrist movement to do the I have the power pose, stuff like that. Oh, a little schmutz right there on the hand. I mean, I'm sure I could clean that off, but and on this hand, you have the in and out movement. Now, there are interchangeable hands for fists, and I didn't really. I mean, I've tried them; they fit. They're wonderful. Uh, you know what fists look like, and to be honest with you, these hands look close enough like fists that you know he could throw working punches. And I am not popping them out because if you own a cat, you understand why. Now the torso here has a lot going on. You have a waist swivel here, but you also have the diaphragm joint, which can give you some extra movement there. That's really cool. Uh, Ball jointed hips, swivel at the thigh. No, yeah, the thigh. Double jointed knees, boot cut there. Forward and back foot pivot, and then of course you do have ankle pivot. So you have the forward and back foot articulation and ankle pivot. So a lot of joints there to work. A little more articulated than say the basic Origins figures, but it is to be expected. Now, there is an Origins version of this figure that was released in a heavily overpriced 4-pack. I bought it, I turned around and returned it just because once having it in hand, I had buyer's remorse, and also there was just some horrible deco issues um, in terms of how the eyes were printed. Nothing, I don't have any of those issues here, and in fact, I think this is a much better figure. I mean, it's bigger, of course, so yeah. So I mean, you could really have some fun with it. Now, we've seen the sword, we've seen the shield. There's actually even more accessories here because He-Man, if I remember, I didn't watch all the episodes, but I pretty remember that either he got a power up to the sword that allowed him to conjure this futuristic armor, or they actually gave him the futuristic armor to help fight the mutants, who, by the way, aligned themselves with Skeletor. So, because once they got the Primus, they kind of found out Skeletor's the bad guy, and to change the armor, you want to come around here. This tab slides out, and let me just say oh boy, I got it once, and it's a little tricky to do. There we go. Oh, I got it. But you slide that off, and the armor here, it has the two um, clips on either side. You'll forgive me if I don't close those because they were really tough to open, and uh, especially when they were on the figure. I'm sure if I uh, had just maybe used a tool or had some nails, they would fit. But so you have the armor on like that, and then the helmet just goes over the top, just like so. And I know that this was the more popular look to He-Man, especially when he was in outer space. And of course, the sword can store over the shoulder, just like that. So yeah, you do have He-Man. I mean, I actually kind of prefer this look almost, just because it is so different from what we had. And what's nice is the helmet doesn't limit the ponytail doesn't limit the fit of the helmet. That's a little attention to detail that I think gets missed a lot. So yeah, I really think this is a fun figure. I'm really digging it. So how about we pause and I'll come back with my final thoughts. I realize I actually never showed you He-Man holding the sword, but there you go. The wrist is down. I would have liked a little bit more room to get like the sword angled down more, and you could probably half the peg in the wrist to get that positioning a little bit better, that it's not hitting into the wrist, but into the wrist cuff. But yeah, this is really cool. This was a Target exclusive, so I think they've been in stores for a bit. I just got it from my online pre-order a couple days ago, and yeah, I really don't know what more I can say about it. It's a fun figure. I'm quite glad I have it. And if this is how He-Man's going out, I think it's going out on a high note. And I think I kind of got to say something about that. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation about He-Man and what's going on with the Masters of the Universe line, and especially Origins and Masterverse. And all I can say to you, and all I'm going to say to you is, while I don't think someone who hasn't worked at Mattel for over 10 years really knows what's going on, I also don't think that a super fan who, is also an outlaw wrestler, uh, knows what's going on either. And at the end of the day, with everything else, we have to believe what we see. And if there comes a point where we stop seeing He-Man figures on the shelf at our various retailers, and newer ways, excuse me, are only available at uh, uh, online discount retailers, I think that says a lot. But you can't be sure until it happens. So just my final word: enjoy what we have now, keep collecting, and worry about things when you have to. But that's about it for the review. If you like this review, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. While I will always appreciate the views, likes, comments, and subscriptions, help to communicate to YouTube through their algorithms that my channel should be exalted and held upon high by the power of Grayskull. If you want to make the ultimate sign of support, I do have a Patreon. It is www.patreon.com/chuckdog1999. All I ask for is $1 a month, $12 a year. No thrills, no tears, no special rewards. All you're doing is helping me help you, help me to help you bring figures like this to you, as well as keeping up the infrastructure of the channel. But as I always say, if you can't afford $1 a month or $12 a year, your views are more than thanks enough. I know we're in a bit of a financial crush now. There's inflation. We're on the cusp of a recession, I do believe. Um, when people are having to decide between buying food and then putting gas in their car to get to work to get the money to buy food, I think we got problems. So you don't worry about me. Your views are more than thanks enough. Patreon is a cherry on top of an already generous Sunday. That's about it. This is your old pal Chuck for New Adventures He-Man. We will see you next time.